Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A toxic waste contamination has given birth to a mutant beast that can devour you in the worst possible ways. Today we will recap the story of the movie, The Host, from 2006. One night at an underground morgue, a senior pathologist is complaining to his apprentice about how dirty the lab is. He tells his helper to throw away the chemicals in the sink, because it's already very dusty. The boy then replies that the law does not allow this, but with an intimidating look, his boss forces him to pour all the liquid into the sewer. As time goes by, people start noticing strange creatures that are appearing in the lake, but they don't pay much attention to the imminent danger. Kang-du is the son of a small grocery store owner and works very poorly thanks to his heavy sleeping, which always causes him to sleep on the job. His father, Hie-bong, gets annoyed with his son and tells him to serve the customers. Although Kang-du is lazy and rather useless, he loves his daughter very much, even though she is disgusted by many things her father does, as is everyone who knows him around town. The two were watching television together while cheering for Kang-du's sister, named Nam-ju, who is a national archery champion competing for first place. When out of the blue, a news report appears informing about the body of a man found in the river, half dead, as if he had been swallowed before he died. The old man once again tells his son to go to the store and work properly, because he is getting a lot of complaints. Kang-du takes the food to the people, but realizes that everyone is staring at the still river. They see a strange creature hanging just below the bridge and are stunned as to what it could be. The animal falls into the water and as a result people come closer to the river's edge and Kang-du throws a beer can to attract the creature, which quickly pulls the can to the bottom with a tentacle. Everyone starts throwing trash into the river following Kang-du's genius idea, but the creature has disappeared, leaving nothing but that floating mountain of trash. When Kang-du is about to leave, he sees a giant monster on the shore, charging towards the people and throwing them into the river with its huge body. Everyone panics, while the monster continues trampling civilians and killing them with its attacks. Kang-du helps the people and orders them to flee, but is knocked down by the giant beast. The monster enters a container full of people, which turns the civilians into a feast that he eats with total ease. An American soldier tries to free the people with Kang-du's help, but the monster quickly exits the container, leaving only a trail of blood and bodies across the city lawn. They chase the beast and try to stop it as best they can, but the soldier is eventually captured. Kang-du tries to save him by hitting the monster's tail with a concrete weight, crushing the creature's tail, but the attacks are ineffective. It turns and forces him to flee. Hyun-seo leaves her grandfather's store looking for her father, then realizes that everyone has disappeared. Kang-du quickly grabs his daughter and runs desperately to try to save both their skins, but in the midst of the chaos he realizes that his daughter has been left behind, and he was taking the wrong girl all this time. When he looks back, he is paralyzed. The monster is advancing towards his daughter. He grabs her with one of his huge tentacles and then jumps into the river, swimming to the other side. Kang-du tries to chase him by jumping into the water, but he watches that terrible image, his daughter being taken by the monster. The army arrives promptly to cordon off the area and keep the civilians safe, who are mourning the death of their families, as they have held a huge wake in the refuge they are located in. Hyun's uncle, named Nam-il, also arrives with tears in his eyes, and goes to visit the grave of his beloved niece. The family members hug each other and fall to the ground in shock at the situation, but instead of helping them, the reporters surround them and start taking pictures like predators thirsty for the suffering of others. A government official in a biohazard suit comes to greet people and asks if any of the family members have had physical contact with the creature. The families are afraid to admit their involvement with the monster, but after being asked several times, some raise their hands, including Kang-du who, even though he is very afraid, raises his hand. More biohazard personnel begin to enter the building, throwing decontamination products and keeping the rescued civilians in quarantine. They take Kang-du by force and none of his family members are able to help him. An important detail is that the American soldier who helped Kang-du managed to survive the monster's attack, but is heavily infected by a virus that lives in the monster's body. The government is withdrawing its military forces and sending specialized teams against the epidemic that has spread in civilization. At the same time, Kang-du and his family arrive at the hospital, but are surprised to see the lack of quarantine measures, as even the professionals are not protecting themselves with masks. In fact, he himself has been feeling unpleasant itches and poking at the food in the next patient with his fingers. It was late at night, and Kang-du receives a phone call that he immediately recognizes as his daughter's voice. He tries to ask for her location, but the call drops because of the poor signal. The monster continues to attack the humans, killing the quarantine workers and bringing them back to its nest inside the sewer, saving the bodies for a delicious feast it will make later. Hyun manages to access another section of the sewer through the drainage pipe, and examines the man brought in by the monster, Unfortunately, he did not resist due to drowning, and even though she managed to find a cell phone in his clothes, the water caused the device to turn off. Back at the hospital, Kang-du tries to convince the police that his daughter is alive, but the officer imagines that the protagonist is having a breakdown and orders a psychiatric evaluation, realizing that his daughter may soon begin to starve to death. The family tries to flee the hospital, but is recognized immediately because of Kang-du's blonde hair. They run to the elevator, going to the first floor where a vehicle driven by a group of gangsters has come to rescue them from the scene. The family manages to escape from the hospital, while the policeman futilely tries to catch up with them on foot. After the escape, the bandits charge the little old man a large sum of money as payment for all their trouble, providing them with weapons and a government vehicle so that they can proceed through the roadblocks unnoticed. Hie-bong has no choice and hands over all his money to the criminals, including his credit cards as well. They drive toward a police checkpoint and try to pass, but a police captain recognizes them as the hospital's wanted fugitives. With no other choice, the old man must bribe the officer with the only money he had left. The family begins searching for Hyun inside each sewer system they find on the maps they received, but they are lost due to the size of the place. Nam-il complains that they will never find his niece by searching without strategy, but his sister tells him to stop complaining because there is no better option. Suddenly, the family notices something moving in front of them and they position themselves to shoot. Nam-ju feels some water drops falling on her. They shoot several times thinking it was the monster, however there was nothing there. However, there are two other boys hiding there inside the sewers, who run out after being startled by all the gunfire. The two little boys live on the streets, and the older brother tries to get food from the nearest grocery store, for which the owner is Mr. Hie-bong. The youngest boy, named Si-ju, also wants to take the money from the store, but his brother stops him and says that this is wrong, saying that they should only take enough food so that they can survive. They leave with backpacks full of supplies after looting the warehouse, but are surprised by the monster, advancing towards them from under the bridge. The two quickly run back to the shelter. Sometime later, Hie-bong returns to his store and sees that the doors have been forced open. With so many problems on his mind, he pays no attention and the family continues to gush as they imagine Hyun right next to them. Meanwhile, the girl tries to survive by fetching minimally potable water from the sewers, and plays dead when she sees the bizarre creature approaching her. The creature leaves the boys it captured earlier, and Hyun realizes that his younger brother is still alive. She does her best to save the boy and protect him from the monster. Kang-du realizes that the creature is standing outside his store, and even though he tries to shoot at it, his father misses. The beast moves toward them and begins to push the structure, damaging the container, and Hie-bong fires a shot straight into the monster's face. He seemed to have been lethally wounded. They leave the container and notice that the monster was still alive and moving. The uncle shoots the monster, and it takes an absurd leap and runs toward the river, jumping through the bridge structures. The family runs after him, but they soon realize that the ammunition had run out. Hie-bong then tells everyone to stay behind and Kang-du passes the gun with only one bullet remaining to his father. The monster comes at the family from the water, while Nam-ju tries to shoot it using her bow and arrow skills. The creature attacks the little man and he fires his gun, but to everyone's misfortune, our genius Kang-du miscalculated and there was no more ammunition. Hie-bong turns around and calmly gestures for them to run away as the creature climbs onto his body. The creature grabs Hie-bong by the leg and throws him violently to the ground while everyone watches in despair. Kang-du runs toward his father's lifeless body and cannot believe what was before his eyes, and then everyone starts to run away before the police arrive. He tells his siblings to run away and look for his daughter Hyun, and covers his father's face with the newspaper. Kang-du also tries to leave, but he can't stop watching his father and ends up being caught by the police officers. At night, the uncle asks his friend who works at the telephone company for help. They enter the company office and start tracing Hyun's last call. Nam-il finally manages to find the location of his niece, but while trying to get some information from some guys, they betray Nam-il by calling the police for reward money. Nam-il sees a crowd of people saying that he shouldn't be there, and he uses some clips in the socket to cause a short and escape into the darkness, locking the madman inside and managing to escape. He flees the building, but sees that the police are also chasing him. In a panic, the boy jumps under the bridge and avoids detection. The uncle calls his sister and sends a message with Hyun's location before finally collapsing due to the injury from the fall. Namju saw her brother's message and quickly ran towards the sewer where her niece was. She walks under the bridge and towards the entrance, while calling Kang-du informing him of her location. Then she sees the monster running towards her and tries to shoot, but is knocked into the cracks of the sewer which fortunately prevents the monster from getting to her. After being informed of his daughter's location, Kang-du tries to escape from the hospital, but is prevented by the doctors who continue to perform painful experiments on the poor fellow. The lead researcher reveals that there is no virus and that the government is simply using it to divert people's attention away from the real culprit in creating this monster. Kang-du overhears their conversation, which leads the doctors to perform a lobotomy to silence him. An extremely gruesome and demented surgery. Meanwhile, Hyun is trying to comfort the little boy she had found, asking him to think about what he would like to eat after they leave. She creates a rope out of the victim's clothes and attaches it to a baton. Hyun throws the rope into the top grate of the sewer and manages to make a makeshift ladder. But before they can get out, and they begin to hide again when the creature appears again. The two watch in disgust as the creatures begin to vomit up the bones of all the humans they had consumed. The monster notices that the children were there and tries to capture them, but the walls serve as protection for them. At the same time, Kang-du takes a doctor hostage while trying to quickly escape from that hellish prison, where he finds doctors fraternizing as if the professionals were on a weekend getaway. He takes a vehicle threatening to kill the hostage and goes to the location of his daughter. Nam-il also wakes up after being saved by a homeless man and asks for help so that they can save his niece from dying. They use bottles of alcohol and make countless Molotov cocktails, preparing to fight the monster to the death. Hyun awakens after hiding from the monster's attacks and notices that a disease is spreading through the boy. She peeks out and sees that the monster is sleeping. This was her opportunity. The girl tries to run to the makeshift rope, but is quickly ambushed and placed against the ground by the monstrosity. She also sees that the boy is on his feet and they both get ready to run. She gives the first impulse and the monster gets up in a rage and starts chasing them. Kang-du arrives at the lair of the beast, where he sees a pile of bones and nothing of his daughter. He notices that the monster has passed him with one arm hanging out of its mouth and begins to hunt it down with his sister. They follow the monster as the creature swims into the river toward the concentration of protesters on the shore, who are moving against chemicals that should not be used by law. The capsule with the yellow agent is about to be released and completely contaminate the place. However, people quickly notice the demented creature coming and run for their lives. The police start shooting at the creature, which is totally in vain. It keeps advancing, getting closer to the soldiers who position their gun against it. And they release that immense amount of the yellow agent, which stuns the creature as it struggles with the pain. Kang-du runs toward the monster's mouth and tries to pull his daughter out. He manages to extract Hyun, who is still holding the little boy she was trying to protect, but unfortunately Hyun was no longer alive. Her father carries her towards his family, and they cry as they embrace the girl's lifeless body. The man decides to take revenge on that monster and attacks him with an iron bar. Nam-il joins in the attack, throwing Molotov cocktails, only to scare the creature away. The homeless man sneaks up on the creature and starts pouring gasoline on it, pouring it into its mouth. Nam-ju prepares his arrow with the flaming tip and shoots at the monster, setting the cursed thing on fire. The monster tries to run back into the water, but is fatally struck by a blow from Kang-du that stealthily caught him off guard. The creature falls with its last breath. They had finally finished with that demented monster. Kang-du realizes that the boy his daughter was trying to protect is still alive, and takes him to a safe place, away from the destruction, keeping him safe. Some time has passed and we can see that Kang-du has adopted the little boy and lives with him, just like the old days with Hyun, while the news reports criticize the government and its evil actions. They continue to reside in the small grocery store near the river while the snow falls outside, indicating that winter is getting closer and closer. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.